And welcome back to the Midday Show. Happy Monday to everybody. We've got some local news winners. We have a 2021 love story that was pretty neat at a baseball game last night. We have restaurants reopening. And then you and I are going to break down some of the LeBron James stuff that's been going around on social media. Mark, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pollen filled. Does that summarize it enough? I don't know if you're aware, because you're not an allergy guy, are you?
I'm not.
So I don't know if you understand this, but like if this is May, like April, May, it's the 1-2 months of the year that if like the police drive by and they see someone like standing on a bridge that looks like they're ready to jump, the first question they ask is like, is life rough for you, or is it because of pollen? And if they're like, it's pollen, I just can't take it anymore, then they just say, okay, we'll tell your wife and kids you love them, and we'll be on our way. Because there are points, I want to gouge my right eye out right now. It itches so bad. So that's it.
No, I'm fortunate. I have not. Again, though, you and I talked about it. I feel as you get older, they kick in.
I mean, it is weird. Like mine, they were really bad when I was a kid. Then contacts help. Contact lenses, because it keeps stuff off your eyes. But there's just years. Like last year, mine were really good because it rained so much. This year it's not raining nearly as much, so things are, because the rain obviously smooshes all the pollen down, and it's so they're seasonally good. Now, of course, you're one of the lucky ones that has Lyme's disease, so it's not like you've skipped the right to the front of the line there. So we all have our ailments, but for those of us that pollen season, this one seems to be it's hitting me harder than most.
This is the time for it. Start off the show, couple of local news award winners. For those of us at NorthcentralPa.com, we are pretty excited. We are officially a award winner as of 2021. So we won a Keystone Media Award, and we just wanted to give a shout out to our staff and some of our winners, as well as some of the other local staffs around the area. And Mark thought and agreed with me it'd be nice to kind of recognize people for the hard work that they do. And local news is something that we're kind of fighting for. So anything before I kind of read off the numbers, Mark, anything you wanted to add to that?
No, you can kind of read them off and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So just for us personally, for NorthcentralPA.com, Morgan Snook, who works for us as a news editor and reporter, she earned a Division I first place for her news beat reporting at Lycoming County Courts. Division I for Keystone Media Awards includes multi-day publications with a circulation of more than 50,000 readers. So we're really happy for Morgan, and congratulations to her as well. We also had Brett Crossley, who does a lot of beat stuff for us, does a lot of photography for us as well. He took second place and an honorable mention for sports breaking news and event coverage with the Press Enterprise. So just a shout out from NorthcentralPA.com. Congratulations to Morgan. Congratulations to Brett as well. And just some other local ones as well. The Waynesport Sun Gazette, they won some Division III stuff for multi-day publications over 10,000 to 20,000 circulation. Their Sports Enterprise, first place for Chris Massey, who did some videos with us. We did some cross stuff when we first started doing the video. And Sports Feature, second place finish for Mitch Rupert as well. And also from the Daily Item in Danville, shout out to William Bowman, John Zaktansky. We have a Francis Scarcerella, Rob Ingus, Kurt Ritzman, Todd Hummel, Dave Hilliard, Rick Dandes, Justin Stauser, and Eric Chicatano, all from the Daily Item, went home with some stuff as well.
Well, yeah, we just, congratulations to everyone. And this is as we talk about, as local media is dying, local newspapers are greatly struggling. And kids are going away from television. When we were young, we got all our news from TV and newspaper, a little from radio. But now the society's changing so quickly. Our generation is not going to get any from TV news and newspaper. So, but it is important. We feel it's important for society to have, fair and unbiased news. It's not just people blabbering things on social media and where fake news is so prevalent, and where people cut and paste things and reshare things that are old and outdated and untrue and things like that. So, so we want to, congratulations to Morgan. and Brett, especially, to our people. And just to reiterate, like, one of the things, because of circulation and because we're internet, like, we're up against Philadelphia Inquirer. I think we were up against Spotlight, which if you saw the movie. So this is no like small feat. This is we're really proud of it, and we're really proud of Morgan, and we're less proud of Brett. I mean, let's be honest. He's an Oakland A's fan, for crying out loud. But anyway, it's good. We have been blessed. I know I've loved reading Massey in the Sun Gazette for years. He does such a great job. Mitch covers the wrestling beat. Mitch covers a lot more beats that I don't follow, but Massey has really been a blessing for our region for a long time. And, congratulations to him as well.
Yeah. So congratulations to all the winners. And again, congratulations to Morgan and Brett, and NorthcentralPa.com, officially a 2021 Keystone Media winner.
And the Daily Item must have done well. Good for them too.
Yeah.
They did really well.
Really, really well. A 2021 love story to me, when obviously there's the old cliche, how can you not fall in love with baseball? And then there's always the stories about different dates and what do you do on the first date? What do you do on the second date? To me, this was a neat story because it really shows like what you're capable of doing in the year 2021. A couple went on a second date to an Arizona Diamondbacks baseball game, and his good friend actually went on Twitter and asked the Arizona Diamondbacks Twitter account, hey, can you check in on my friend and see how his second date is going? We'd like to know, is he having a good time, all this stuff. And the Arizona Diamondbacks Twitter account actually responded back and actually worked with his friend to locate him in the stadium. The tweets started to go like mini viral. People started looking at their phones, and then they eventually put the couple up on the Jumbotron, and people started to applaud. And the Twitter account handled it very well. It was very well done. And, baseball is a slower moving sport. So I appreciated them kind of adding in the aspect of, we haven't had fans in a while. It was neat for them to kind of play along and go with it. So I really enjoyed this story, a 2021 love story for sure.
Well, the part of, there's lots of parts of it that I love. First of all, the part is that it's kind of I'm trying to think of a word that I can say on the air. Your obnoxious friend,
yes,
who is like, because it all starts with an obnoxious friend who's
yes,
like, this is what I'm going to do. And he knew where they said they were sitting, or he thought they were sitting. And he knew what his buddy had on, and he thought that the girl had green on, and he got that right.
Yes.
So he knew, so that they came back and they're like, the seats that you said they're not there. And then he got another one, and he must have texted his buddy like, where are you sitting? And then he's like, well, check this place. And then they found him. And then it started going back and forth. And also because of the world and then not when they found him, he's like, do they look like they're having fun? Does she look like she's having fun is the most part. I'm sure the guy was, but
right.
And then because I'm sure somebody else texted him and is like, dude, they're talking about you on the Twitter account because he said during like, I think we're found out, and his friend texted him back and said, you're a bleep, and something else I can't say. But it was because you could see it all play out, and I didn't see it while it was happening, but I read through it. That everyone got on board. The people were like, no, we're hooked into this story now. We got to see how this is going, and will there be a third date and all that stuff. But hey, any chick whose second date is going to the baseball game with you, keep her. That's a keeper right there.
So, which brought me to my first question for you is this good or is this bad for the relationship? Because it does bring along a little bit of like an obligation, like, oh, we had this moment and it was really special and it's unique and people know about it. But it's also negative because I don't know how you top the date necessarily. Like, what is the third date like? It's all ready to kind of break away from like the downward trend by the 5th, 6th, 7th date. How do you even compete with the 3rd, 4th date after this second date happening?
Well, being the cynic, I would say, sooner or later the relationship's doomed anyway. So, what's it even matter? But you do. That's why I tell everyone, and I used to tell, when I tell teenagers, I was like, listen, do not come out like guns ablaze and like the first date needs to be boring. Like like go get ice cream or something. Like, don't, because if she loves the spotlight and she's like, wow, then the next one, what are we going to do? Like, first date, don't take her backstage to meet some rock band because you can't top it. You want to start low. And then if she keeps coming back, then she obviously likes you a little bit. So I don't know. One of my thoughts was either she's really cool. And baseball is the date sport because it's so slow and it's comfortable. It's, and they're in Arizona. It's weather. It's not like, football, basketball that are blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to be a fan to be in those. Baseball, you can just kind of hang out and watch, and when the guy hits it over the fence, it's a good thing. So baseball is a good date one. I'm wondering if he's wondering, like, I don't know if this relationship's going anywhere. I kind of want to watch the Diamondbacks game, so I'll take her to the ball game. And even if this is the end of it, at least I got to see the game. So, who knows? But in the picture, she seems happy. So, they each got baseballs. The Diamondbacks gave them game-used balls since they're the celebrities of the game. So there you go.
Okay, so and then this is the last question. Was the friend being a good friend, or did he just end up being a good friend?
No, he was trying to be annoying. That's what I.
Which is what I said. He wasn't trying to necessarily be a good friend.
No, he wanted to be annoying and obnoxious, which in the roundabout is what your good friends are. They're supposed to be annoying and obnoxious. So, but this is typical. Like, I love every bit of this story.
It's a really neat story. If you get a chance, look it up, because you can actually see the Twitter conversation. You can actually see his friend in the Arizona Diamondbacks talking as they're trying to find him. And it's a really cute story. If you get a chance, if you're bored during lunch right now, go look it up on Twitter. It's fantastic.
I like, too, that the Mariners were the Diamondbacks playing the Mariners? I don't even know who they're
I'm not sure.
But the Mariners jumped in on the Twitter and were like, we love this. We're following it, too. And listen, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with some sort of season ticket package. Like, the Diamondbacks are going to run with this. They should, because, any marketing is good marketing now, even though with limited seating, it's, these sports are, especially baseball right now, trying to fight to get people back into the stands. Basketball is going to have the same issue.
Yeah. So it's a separate topic, but I think baseball, like, as the summer moves on, I think they're going to get packed as restrictions. I think going to a baseball game is going to be a bigger deal than it's been in years.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would agree, because it'll be the first one out that you can.
Yes.
And it's wet. It's good weather. I agree.
Yeah. Real quick, let's hear about Weiss Markets.
Thank you to Weiss Markets, who are our title sponsor. They sponsor Midday Show. Obviously, you see them all over our page and all over when you read anything on NorthcentralPa.com. Weiss Market is all over the place. So we'd like to thank them. They've also supplied some gift cards for our prize wheel, $25, $50, $100 gift card. We also want to thank Moon and Raven, Eat and Run, and also the Break Room, who've also supplied gift cards for possible winners. The way you enter is go to Facebook and join the Midday Show group. Just go to search, type in Midday Show. It will come up. You join the group, and then your name is in the hopper. I'm not sure what a hopper is, but that's where your name goes. And then, every day the computer spits one out. We have a winner. You get a T-shirt and a chance to win more.
That works. Our random winner today from the Facebook group, the Midday Show, is Sandra Hurd. Sandra Hurd is going to get our free wheel spin. Here we go. Are we ready?
We haven't given away the $100 gift card yet, have we?
Oh, no, we haven't. Not yet.
And we still haven't.
Nope, still haven't.
Maybe we should take that and blow the $100 out, and we should just come in here and just have this big spread of stuff from Weiss Markets. Maybe we should do that.
We can definitely do that. We can definitely talk about it for sure. All right. Well, congratulations, Sandra Hurd. We'll be reaching out to you, and we'll be reaching out to everybody here very shortly. And we're also going to plan our loser wheel out here soon, which that's going to be a blast.
I have ideas. See, we have like 40 different ideas for the loser wheel. I just came up with another one. So it could be fun.
Yeah, so we're excited. So a couple of things here on the back end. Obviously, we're going to talk about LeBron James here shortly, and a little bit of controversy, not just about athletics, but also what's going on in the world. But first, like restaurants reopening, numbers are starting to come out. Funds are starting to come in. And you and I thought this might be a topic just to kind of riff on and just kind of touch base on, because I have found myself in the last couple of weeks, I'm fully vaccinated, things are opening up, the weather is turning. I have found myself more and more out and about. And it sometimes life feels very, very normal when I go somewhere, I go out. Other times I will be out and I will be like, boy, this is not what it used to be like, or this feels different. So one of the things that's coming out recently to help kind of urge this, it is coming out, grants are being given to your local restaurants, local diners, and basically to help try to push forward. But I don't know if it's ever going to feel, I don't know if money is going to be the answer to ever making this feel full again, or ever making this feel normal, especially going into this summer.
Well, one of the things that we didn't see coming, but one of the things that's going to make it odd is these unemployment checks and these stimulus checks, and the people can't find employees, and restaurants are closing on days that they are never closed, or some of them are closing way earlier than they ever closed.
Can I tell a quick story about that? Because it goes along exactly with what you said. We were going up north this weekend, up to the northern tier, and we were trying to get like a quick bite to eat between like 11 and 12:30. We went to probably 4 different drive-thrus, and it was almost impossible in Lycoming County to get into a drive-thru and out of a drive-thru in less than 10, 15 minutes, to the point where we went into one, waited 10 or 15 minutes, bounced out. Went to the next one, waited 10 or 15 minutes, bounced out, because the lines just weren't moving. And it's, to your point, like, it's weird. People can't find work. And what's happening is these situations where it's like, oh, we'll just run in here and get a drink, or we'll just run in here and grab a burger. There is no more like running in there and grabbing something on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, I'd heard of one, and it's not, I mean, you said people can't find work. They can't find people to work.
Yes.
And I'd heard of one, and I don't know if this is true, so I'm not going to mention it specifically, but a fast food place that is closing at 7 p.m. because they just don't have enough shift workers to work later than that. So it is, yes, I think one of the other challenges that's going to happen to the restaurant industry, whether it's a sit-down bar, grill, fancy type of place, or whether it's a fast food place, is the ones that are open and functioning are going to be so busy that there's going to be nothing fast about them. Either whether you're at a sit down or whatever, I think your meals are going to be slower. And I think the drive-through lines are, I mean, we've seen them. If you've been in a drive-through line, like you said, I picked my son up from a workout thing on a Thursday at 8 o'clock, and we hit the Taco Bell drive-through probably 8:15 and a year, before COVID, you go to a Taco Bell drive-through at 8:15 on a Thursday, and you're either first or second in line. We were 10th.
Yeah.
And 8:15 is not dinner time for most people around here. So it has changed the world.
It has. We went from, it was like 11-ish. We hit Dunkin', couldn't get through the line, went down further on Fax into McDonald's, couldn't get through the line, and then basically abandoned that, went all the way over to Burger King off of Maynard, couldn't get through that, ended up at McDonald's on Lycoming Creek Road, sat for about 15 minutes, couldn't get, literally pulled up and did not move. Forget getting to the speaker. We didn't move for 15 minutes, bounced out from 11 to 12:30, literally couldn't get to a speaker at a fast food joint on Saturday. It was again, first world problems, right? Oh, woe is us. We couldn't get through. But it is, like you said, it has changed kind of the mentality. I'm afraid to even go try to do that on a Saturday or a Sunday now, or at the wrong time during the week.
Well, of all the things that again, when history goes back and they look at what we did well through COVID, what we didn't do well, they are certainly going to re-examine the stimulus checks, because there has been this whole oh, people are hurting, people are struggling, let's give them. And now, there has been a big negative to a lot of the industries and people who are trying to run businesses and trying to work. And then you have other people, I joked with one of my friends, I was at a place, and and I don't want to mention because and he's a manager, and he came up and was talking to us while we were there, and I said, hey, our waitress is really mean to us, and I was just kidding because I always say that. And he said, I'm just happy she showed up. He goes, I don't even care if she really was mean to you. I don't even care because I'm just happy she showed up because they just have him calling out all the time. So yeah, stimulus check has had a backfire that no one saw coming.
And that's just a piece of the puzzle. I agree with you because there's so many aspects of what's going on, and it's like this perfect storm that's creating this environment. The other one, and I kind of hinted at the idea of like normalcy versus unnormal. We went to Bald Birds Brewing out near Jersey Shore, which they just, they redid the whole Woolrich place out there. And I walked around and I was like, I feel like it's 2019. This feels completely normal. People were smiling. People would still put on their masks to walk up to the bar. People would still, when they were moving, put their mask on. But as far as like when they sat down at the table and the masks were off and people were listening to music and they were having a good time, all of a sudden this like normalcy rushed over me. And it has made me like over the past weekend kind of crave it. Like it's almost like I can't wait to duplicate how I felt the night I went there. So I do wonder, what does that look like? Bald Birds is huge. It's like there's so much space that you can kind of figure out how to fit people in there, even with the restrictions and even with what we're up against, trying to push into the summer with COVID. So I do wonder, like, is that kind of the next step or the next phase that we're going to is you're going to see people lean towards these people that are larger places that can kind of make you feel some normalcy. Like we went to Basel out towards Muncie and they have like the outdoor seating and it's more open. Places that are more confined, like it's just hard. It's just, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to get there this summer. I thought this summer we'd get to a point where you could walk into like the small town diner and you'd feel pretty normal. And now the more and more I'm kind of seeing the way it play out, I don't know if that's going to be the case.
It is you're right. When does it happen? Is the question. Now, like I was in the Moon and Raven last week. Last week, and it felt totally normal. And no, I didn't pay attention. Maybe booths are more divided or whatever. Maybe they've but it seemed like old times to me. I've been in Wild Wings, and it seems like old times. So yeah, there are places that it feels just like.
I think in both of those are open, right? Like there's a higher ceiling. Like it's more. I don't know. I feel like that's maybe. I just because I'm telling you right now, those are the places I'm going to end up going to because that was where I felt the most normal. Just not because I don't want to support the other places but like I walked in the Bald Birds and like it just felt like 2019 again. And like you said, Buffalo Wild Wings, like it's open floor plan. So I don't know. So maybe that's where we're headed.
That's as you just mentioned it. That's something I never thought of. I wonder like what were people's favorite spots beforehand? Yeah. And then, but now where do they feel normal again? Where do they feel, and do people find new spots, or is that what they're looking for? It's not really what's on the menu. It's not what's on tap. It's where do they feel like it's old times again, as opposed to the COVID world. And that could really affect people as to where they go.
I agree with you. I really, really agree with you. LeBron James has been in the headlines. Listen, for 2 decades. For 2 decades, he's been in the headlines. He's a polarizing figure for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's strong sports opinions. There's strong political opinions. But let's start here. You brought up the idea of the police that were, I don't want to say they were mocking him, but it was their response to what he had said on Twitter. And you said that they recently just raised funds for one of the cops. I personally didn't see this.
Yeah, but first of all, I love LeBron. I really do. I love LeBron. And we could talk before we get into this. Julius Erving just did an interview. Did we talk about this?
No. So go ahead.
He didn't even have LeBron James. They asked Julius Erving, who's your all-time team?
Right.
And Jordan didn't make the first team. All the guys that did played in like the 60s. Sure. And not only did Jordan not make the first team, LeBron didn't make the first or second team. Yeah. And Dr. J was my first basketball hero. And now I'm at the point where I just hope he stops talking because he is really embarrassing himself with his lack of knowledge of the modern game. Yeah. That being said, LeBron made the comment when the story a couple weeks ago when the I think she was 16 years old, the black girl that had the knife that was attacking the other black girl, and the cop showed up and shot her. And LeBron made comments about how unfortunate it is that the girl got shot. And there was a cop who was not involved in this. I think he was in Idaho, Montana, somewhere up there. Yeah. And he posted a video, and it was basically mocking LeBron. And he was like, listen, oh, there's somebody here. They have a knife. They're going to try to stab someone. What should I do? And then he kind of went into you could tell he's like, well, what does it matter what color they are? Why would that matter? There's someone's trying to stab someone. And they're like, so anyway, it's a really, the cop makes a lot of really, really good points in the video. And apparently he was reprimanded by his department because he did it in uniform. Sure. And they're like, that doesn't really look professional. I bet they had no issues with the points he was making. They're like, we just hadn't done it in uniform. And he was disciplined. Nobody knows what the discipline was. But so someone started a GoFundMe in case this guy was suspended without pay. And apparently the GoFundMe is up to $200,000.
Wow. So that's the first I've heard of the GoFundMe. There were two different videos going around. One was of a male officer. The other was of a female officer. The one thing that I thought the officers did for lack of a better word, I thought they did a good job of bringing up points that only applied to their profession. It wasn't, they weren't political videos. They weren't necessarily racial videos. They were just about like, this is my job. Here are the things that I disagreed with what you said, but they did it in kind of like a mockumentary style, as if LeBron James was on the other side of the phone. So it's that idea of if you're LeBron James, are you willing to say things about other people's profession? I think there are things that you have to stand up for. I think there's things that if you're him, you feel like you're doing the right thing. The problem, and you and I have talked about this, is how quickly do you say it and how quickly do you get it out there for public consumption before you yourself get to digest what has happened or get the opportunity to kind of, I don't want to say filter it, because I do think they were his honest thoughts. I'm just saying though, like, sometimes you want to think, like, as I'm talking to you right now, I keep looking up because I'm kind of circulating what I want to say to you. And then the problem with Twitter is, like, you tweet it and it is there, and people now, it is public consumption. So he had posted a picture of the one officer and said, "You're next." People kind of jumped on it. I really believe that this is just another example of somebody who isn't necessarily wrong in what they are fighting for. They are wrong in how quickly they were willing to put out information into the ether. And unfortunately, they're getting jumped on it now. Because I did disagree with what he tweeted. That's just an opinion. But I'm willing to recognize that if he could redo it, I don't doubt that he would.
I think you're right. He tweeted while he was angry, and which is a very dangerous thing. But one of the things that I will always stand up for athletes, and you hear a lot of white America telling, black athletes that, like, I don't care what your opinion is, like, we're just here to watch you play sports. And they say it to people in Hollywood. And the reason that these people are the activists is because they have a voice and they have a stage. And the normal schmucks of the world like us, nobody's listening to us. So the Muhammad Ali's of the world and the Jim Browns of the world, and they have been, the Arthur Ashes of the world have been vital to a lot of progress that society has made. So so I think I don't say that LeBron necessarily has a responsibility, but it's good for society that the people that do have a voice take the responsibility. So that is what. So I will always support not just LeBron, but all the athletes who support whatever cause that whether it's a female, whether it's whatever. On the side of the police, there was the thing that I saw about the video of the girl that was trying to stab another girl. It just keeps coming back to me how complicated this has become. The cops showed up because they were called. They didn't just they weren't just driving by. Like, someone called 911 and they're like, you need to come here and help us. And you can see in the video, I think it was off the body cam or off the car cam, whatever that's called. The cop gets out of the car after being called, and there was a teenager that was away from the crowd, gives the cop the middle finger. And that is just in a nutshell, like, we need your help. Come here and help us. And the first thing we do when you get out of the car is give you the middle finger. And that is the world that, I mean, you talk about you can't win. And then the cops there, the girl's got a knife. The girl clearly has a knife. She has another girl pinned against the car. The cop yells, whatever. She ends up getting shot. If the cop does nothing and the girl stabs the other girl and then that girl dies, is the cop going to get, I mean, isn't he going to take heat for that? Because why would you stand by and let the, so yeah. We've come to a spot in a lot of society that, again, and there's good cops and there's bad cops and there's all these things, but even the good cops are in points where they can't win, and we're going to have trouble. We just talked about stimulus checks and we can't find cooks and waitresses and people like that. We're going to get to a point we can't find cops, and that's not going to be good for society either.
No, it's not. I think one of the biggest questions, I just feel like we never, and again, I'm nobody, I feel like we never ask the right questions. Because to me, the most recent one with the girl with the knife was a question of de-escalation. And I'm not saying it would have been easy to de-escalate it, but that's questions we as a society need to ask ourselves. Like, are we training police officers how to de-escalate this stuff? When is the line where you stop trying to de-escalate it because she is about to get stabbed? Because I believe the actual video from when he steps out of the car to when he actually confronts the girls, I believe it's only like 10 to 12 seconds, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was quick.
And so to me, like, there's a fair question of de-escalation there where I don't know the answer. But I do know that there's a lot of other people as a cop, like, how long are you supposed to de-escalate it? How do you de-escalate it? Like, these are just things that I feel aren't being talked about. And that's not where the discussion goes, because maybe a jerk like me sends out a tweet 5 seconds after it happens, and now the conversation becomes about me. And not to spin this around on LeBron James. He has a platform. I get that he needs to use it. But this is part of the problem, is you and I started this conversation talking about LeBron James for 8 minutes instead of talking about, like, de-escalation and how do you handle these situations. It just kind of pivots the conversation away from what you really want the conversation to be. That was more my issue with him tweeting the way he tweeted as quickly as he tweeted. I just feel like nothing actually got discussed the way it probably should have. More sports shows and more conversations ended up being about LeBron James.
Yeah, and that's because it gets ratings and it gets it's more, he's more well known and it's sexier and all that stuff. But it is because I've seen a couple videos, and I don't know if it's extended body cam. I don't know if it's off the body cam or off the car cam or whatever. But I'll tell you someone who was not upset after the shooting, and it was the girl who almost got stabbed. And I saw a quote from her that she said, yeah, she came at me with a knife and he got her. And she was not like, there was a thing of like that this guy just saved my life. So, sure. So as we get into all that, and then so I don't know. It is so complex. But anyway, also, back to this.
This would be the last thing I would say before we end it. And this is, again, I'm nobody. This is just opinion based. We're talking back and forth. I will say that more of the conversation, I can't tell you how many times, like when I was getting my teaching degree, I can't tell you how many times, like 4-year degree, I knew that I was going to have to go back to grad school if I wanted to do it. The amount of things that I had to do just to be a teacher, to work around kids. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about people who are questioning police or questioning the way we do this, like, I don't feel like I'm anti-police. But what I do feel like is I know how difficult it is to become something else, like the profession and what it takes to be that. I think policemen are unbelievably valuable. I would just like to see what it takes to become one reflect how valuable they are to society. Because I think there's a little bit of hypocrisy in what it takes to become something else in society versus what it takes to become a police officer. And I value a police officer so much that I want to see that reflected. That
Well,
would
I
be
think
kind of my final statement on it.
I think the issue that goes historic, and we learned so much from our parents and who learned from their parents. And there's never been a generation of Black people who trusted the police. And as you look back through history, it's understandably so. So there's just been this inborn distrust of police from that segment of our society. And the other aspect, which just doesn't happen in police, this kind of happens everywhere, but the world would become a better place if people ratted out the bad people in their own industry.
Sure. But this is also the other thing. The system could rat it out, because you know what? There's not a lot of bad things. Like, there's not a lot of bad doctors. You know why there's not bad doctors? Because it takes 10 years to become one. Like it takes the amount of effort and what you have to go through to become a doctor. It just limits how many bad doctors you can have. I'm not saying that I think police officers are bad. What I'm saying is, I think if you have a system in which it weeds out the bad ones, whether they hold too much value in society. Thus, the degree or the certification or whatever they need to get should reflect that value the same way it does a doctor. And you need so many degrees after so many years.
I guess, but I think like there's lots of like, I'm not a doctor because I'm not smart enough, and I'm not I don't do blood well. Like I that is not, so I could not do it. Like there's lots of us. I couldn't be a cop. I'm not brave enough to run into a building with a gun and not know what's coming out the other way. So it's like when you look at and say like school teacher, yeah, you need to have the right mindset, and depending on, all of us have a subject matter that we know enough that we could probably teach high school at some level. And the only question is, how well do you get along with people? How well do you know? Like, there's a lot more people that could be school teachers than cops, because cops you have to have a bravery to you that normal society doesn't have.
Okay. I just don't see. Yeah, I don't see how that reflects in. You don't have to. I'm not saying they need to be as smart as doctors. I think what I'm saying is, like, the same process that weeds those out, we could weed out bad anything if they're that valuable to society. I think police are just as valuable to society almost as doctors. So the idea that one's credential or one's process to get there would be that much doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't think it has as much to do with the credentials as, when we'll take this to the Catholic Church. Like, what they did, they had all these bad apples in the Catholic Church, and they protected them. And they didn't stand up and say, whoop, child molester, like they hit it, they moved it, they protected their own. And there are lots and lots of industries that protect their own. And when you have cops that start doing bad things, but they're protected and they're allowed to do other bad things, that's where I think the biggest issue becomes, and the distrust has come between the Black community and the police. So yeah, it is a complex conversation, and it's a conversation. It's obviously not going away now. It's here to stay, and it's always going to stay. And how to fix it is not simple, because there's so many tentacles to it. Anyway, but LeBron,
he's also an athlete. Did you have any? He's also an athlete. If you wanted to say something about that.
I didn't really. I think that the athletes, it's good for society, because the athletes, the entertainers, these are the people that have a voice. And in social media, like, we all have a voice, but we don't. Like, there's some voices that are booming, and LeBron speaks and he's booming. And again, I think he spoke this one out of anger, and this was not his best performance, but he has done lots of good for society, and he will do a lot more. And he is much more good than bad.
Oh, 100%. That's when I first saw the tweets. Even though I had disagreed necessarily with the one, my initial reaction was I was more disappointed than like angry about the tweet, because my disappointment came from the idea of, like, I knew there would be backlash, and I knew this was going to backfire on him a little bit. And there would be people that would be able to point fingers and say, see, we told you, or see, like, this is what we meant. So I was more disappointed when I saw it, just from the idea of I knew how it was going to be blown up because of it.
Yeah, the "You're Next" was bad. There's that. That was really not good.
It was.
But
From an athletic
standpoint, he is the second best player in NBA history.
He's the second greatest player ever, without a doubt. He did just come out and say, and I don't know if you saw this, he just came out and said that whoever created the play-in tournament should be fired. I don't know if you saw that today or not. The irony there is his team is tied with the 7th place team. So if you are 7th through 10th, you have to play a play-in tournament to be in the playoffs. His team fell to 6th, tied with the 7th place team, and all of a sudden now the play-in tournament is a bad idea and they should be fired. So I don't, little things like that. I from his athletic standpoint, I've always felt like his athletic accomplishment has been diminished sometimes by his inability to just kind of like recognize that it's okay that he is who he is. Like, it's almost like he has to say something. And like you said, it's good. Like, he has a platform, but sometimes like he can't help himself. Like, he has to say something about it.
I think it happened to Kobe. I think it happened to LeBron more because LeBron's better than Kobe was. That our generation loved Michael Jordan so much, and he was this superhero who could fly. And we do not want to see anyone overtake our superhero. And that LeBron has come out in this, there's all these people like we can't allow you to be as good as Michael Jordan. And so
I don't think I'm not allowing it. He's not.
Well, there's
if it was a longevity award, he's the greatest player of all time.
If you were picking a 21-year-old for the rest of their life, and you were picking 21-year-old Jordan or 21-year-old LeBron, it's not that obvious.
But I could make the argument. I think it's a very fair argument to say, even though I may get 5 less years of Jordan, I still think my window of how many championships I will win is higher.
And I don't disagree. And that's why I said when I started, LeBron is the second best player. I would take Jordan. But there's things about LeBron. LeBron's a nicer guy, and guys want to come play with him more. And at the end of LeBron's career, because we're getting to the end of LeBron's career, he's still got superstars that want to come play with him. When Jordan was a wizard, nobody wanted to come play with him.
No one wanted to come play with him. No one wanted to play in Washington. And also the salary cap, it was much harder for guys to move around. I agree with the sentiment of what you're saying. Listen, if LeBron James was playing in Sacramento right now, I doubt like Anthony Davis and his team would have been like selling out to go there.
They went to Cleveland.
Who's they?
Kevin
Kyrie Irving was drafted by Cleveland.
He was already there. I know. Right after I said it, I was like, all right, Irving was already there. Whatever. Well, wait, why did Jordan go to Washington? He didn't get traded there.
Well, he got part ownership.
Okay, so he chose to go there.
Who, Jordan?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, part ownership. Also, there was no championship aspiration in Washington. None. Like, don't get me wrong. He was trying to like win and stuff, but all he was trying to do was prep the younger guys in a team he had part ownership in. Like, that was not to win a title.
I'm glad you ended it with saying, don't get me wrong. He was trying to win and stuff. But so anyway, yeah. I don't know. There's again, that's whoops, as I'm punching tables. It's just not that. There's a lot of aspects of LeBron's a better rebounder, LeBron's a better ball handler, LeBron's a better passer, LeBron defends in the post better.
Being 6'9" doesn't mean yes, he's 6'9". It doesn't mean he's a better post defender.
You don't think LeBron was a better post defender than Jordan?
I think all the things you just said are like the gap between the two of them is beyond exaggerated. Jordan was a phenomenal passer. He just didn't do it the first 6-7 years of his career. Because you and I have talked about this. The mentality of Jordan was, you are in my way. Like it didn't matter if you are on my team or if you were on the opposing team, you are in my way and I need to make sure I accomplish this. Whereas LeBron's mentality has always been different. He has always been much more willing to say, like, I need to accomplish X and I'm not sure if I can do X, so I need Y and Z, so I make sure I accomplish it. And it's just those opposing mindsets. Which one did you grow up with? Which one appeals to you more? Which one from your own experiences have you dealt with more? It really decides which side you're on.
But to say the guy's a phenomenal passer, but he doesn't do it, then he's not a phenomenal passer.
But he was. As time went on.
It's like saying I can speak French, I just haven't done it in 10 years. Well, then what's the good of it?
But it's also like I'm a great driver, but I wasn't allowed to drive a car until I was 16. So was I a bad driver when I was 15? Was I a bad driver when I was 14?
Yes, you were.
I just didn't have the years or the experience yet to realize, like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do that. That's what happened in Jordan's career. Once he got into the late 80s and he had Pippen, he realized, like, oh, like, I can actually do this.
No. Not I can. I should. Like, we're better if I do. That's one of the things Phil Jackson said to him. Like, you need to score less for us to win more. You got to get other players around you going.
But there were early years where that was not the case.
Maybe I've looked at this all as wrong. Maybe this whole time. Maybe Deion Sanders was a great tackler. He just never tackled. I should cut Deion a break.
I mean, you don't know if Deion Sanders is a good tackler until he lowers his shoulder and tries to tackle somebody.
I know Deion can't tackle. Not very well. So anyway, Jordan, LeBron's a better passer. There's no doubt.
I think if LeBron is a 9.9 of passing, Michael Jordan was a solid 8. Like Jordan was pushing. Okay. Jordan was a good passer.
That's fine. And if you're walking,
people like to act like he was a 5.
If you're walking through a bar and you see two girls and one's a 9.9 and one's an 8, then the 9.9 is better.
The 8's probably a lot nicer.
Well, that's
Thank you for watching the midday. Thank you. We've officially reached the point where we've stayed on the show long enough. Think about that. We got through restaurants opening, the most recent police shooting, and it finally took 45 minutes to get to the point where I might say something where I put my foot in my mouth.
Well, there we go. I thought our stream was cutting us off because that was kind of abrupt. But all right, I'm done. I've said all I have to say, and my eye actually feels better. You distracted me, and I'm good. My eye's good. I'm happy.
Good. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to Weiss Markets for being our title sponsor. And thank you to NorthcentralPa.com. Go there for all your local news. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. And we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday.
I still love LeBron. Love him.